just in case. Hey.
We are recording. It's a early Saturday morning, and
Saturday, no school today. So what you gonna do?
Chris has come dressed spectacularly this morning.
Thank you. I shall have to complete the look.
Yes, please. There we go.
Oh. In my Saturday best, off to watch This is Progress Wrestling with Scroobius Pip in a little bit. But we've been kind of pushed for time the last few weeks, haven't we?
We have.
I'm moving next week as well, so everything's going to go a bit mental. So bear with us.
Bear with
us. But, service. We'll try our best to maintain service.
And sometimes there might be some things where it's just difficult because Chris is going to be living the other side of London.
Yep.
I'm still in here in Essex, so it's logistically sometimes quite tricky because obviously we all have work to do and stuff like that. But we will do whatever we can to ensure you get your content. I mean, last night you caught up with Pip and recorded some bits for the Patreons with Pip.
Yeah, me and him in the bath.
So that's the sort of thing that we'll do if me and Chris can't get together, which we've sort of spoke about that. Hopefully we can.
Yeah.
But if there is a chance where 1 week I can't get to Chris's or Chris can't get to mine, then maybe I'll sit down with 76 or Chris will catch up with whoever and do something else to make sure that you get your episode each week.
Don't you fear, we will make it happen somehow, some way.
We can do this. What are we doing today?
All right, so basically, Shu's been working late last night, and we knew we had to cram one in before I went off today.
That's what she said.
And so it was late last night. And
you normally get one in before you go off, don't you?
Yeah, normally it helps me sleep. And basically, what I decided to do is, because he had to get up early, I thought, well, why don't we do top 5 times you've had a bit of a mad one and you've had to get up for something the next day? Because that's always a fucking horrible, rotten, wretched feeling, isn't it, basically?
Do you find, if you haven't got to get up for anything, and let's use 6 a.m.
Talking about depression here.
Let's use 6 a.m. as a time, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's early enough, and if you haven't got to get up, do you find if you wake up at 6 a.m. you think, I might as well get up?
It's definitely
but
psychological.
If you had to be up at 6, you think, oh, fuck, this is the worst thing ever.
Definitely. It's definitely, there's part psychological. It's the fact that you've got to get up for something.
Yeah.
And often it's something that you don't really want to do. Sometimes it's something you do want to do. It's not always work. In my top 5, it isn't always just work. You know, lovely little notepads. It's not always just work. It's like it can be something you want to do, but you just broke them. But you're totally right. It's massively psychological. But also, I have this trouble of my body naturally wakes up, and then mentally I force myself back to sleep. Sometimes.
Are you talking about morning wood?
Yeah. My body wakes up and it needs pleasuring. It demands pleasure.
Oh.
So, like, when I wake up and then I'm like, oh no, it's 7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I hadn't got to be up at this time today.
Yeah.
So I go back to sleep. That is wrong as well. Like, we don't live in sync with our bodies often. Our brain tries to dictate that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that if you get into a good pattern and a healthy cycle, when your body wakes up, it's time to get out of bed. Yeah. And it's good for willpower building as well.
Yeah.
Really good for building your willpower and self-control is that if you can do that, get up and just get on with your day and start doing things, it's really good. So if you find yourself lacking in willpower, self-control,
don't go to bed.
How you get up is really important. Yeah. Anyway, life lessons over. The next 5 things you're going to hear from me are all times when I fucked my life hard in the ass.
Did you choose this top 5?
Yes, it was me. It was me.
Well done. It's a good one.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start? How do you want this to go?
Yeah, go on.
So my number 5... Oh, sorry. I'm just checking a few things. Right. My number 5 is the original time when I had a house party and I was about 16. So obviously... alcohol's relatively new to us there. You know, I'm hard, so I was drinking since 6. But alcohol was actually kind of relatively new. And it was my first proper job after paper round.
Right.
And is someone... What's that banging going on in your back garden?
I think it's just a bit windy. I'll tell you what it is. It is windy out there. It's the whiff-in sign in the wind.
Listen, how about that, guys? Hey? So...
No one would have noticed that. Now everybody's going to be listening for that.
Everybody's going to listen for that. Like, tap, 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 taparoo. So, 16, first proper job.
I'm not listening now. I'm listening to that.
Saver Centre.
Right. I mean, that was a landmark shopping centre. I remember when that opened in Basildon. Yeah. It was like going on the set of Back to the Future.
It's proper.
No one had seen a supermarket like that. No, it was something groundbreaking. It's a
big deal, mate. I love working in Saver Centre. I'm going to make no bones about it. I like the simplicity of that job.
Yeah.
I didn't mind working on the checkouts either. I had a good bunch of new friends I'd met there. We laughed a lot. It was good times. Anyway, this is weird because this is a house party that I got proper toured up in, where they took photos of me holding me in a Jesus Christ position because I'd been being sick and I was so paralytic that I was just lying in the back garden. I was off my face. And the next day, it was a work trip to Alton Towers.
Hey.
So it should have been a good thing. I love theme parks and, little children running around, often unattended. So I was like, I couldn't wait to get to Alton Towers. And I tell you what, I woke up, and I think I woke up at like 7. And this is even at 16, where alcohol, I think you've got a much quicker recovery time with alcohol back then. Because, I don't know, I don't think you consume as much, you get fucked quicker, and I think your metabolism burns it out quicker, doesn't it? Like, hangovers aren't the same. Hangovers at this age now feel like full-blown AIDS, don't they? It is harsh, man. And anyway, I got on that coach... And thank God there was a fucking toilet on that coach, because I just spent... I think I threw up 3 times on that trip to Alton Towers, and it was not a cool journey. And then, obviously, all the rides. And normally I can't wait for the rides, but I was literally like... It was not like risk a fart, it was risk a puke. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Did you go for it, though?
Oh, yeah, fuck that. Yeah, and actually,
I love the fact that you went, fuck that, like you're a renegade. You would not have reaped the fucking... The fallout of that. It would have been some... Poor fucker that was sat behind you.
Exactly. Tracy from fucking groceries or whatever. Yeah, so that's my number 5, mate. That was when I first learned that...
Drinking's not cool.
Yeah, it's not always that cool. Yeah. How about you, man?
A lot of mine are drinking based.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna start with... Brad's son's christening.
Sure.
I imagine most of you guys know I'm talking about Brad. Brad, who's done lots of stuff with Hardcore Listing and has now got his Mouth of Manliness podcast. With our friend Nick. It's going very well. So I'm godparent to both of Brad's children. And when his eldest, the wonderful Buddy... was christened.
Lovely lad, Buddy.
He's cracking, isn't he? And for some reason, we had lots of people over the night before.
Yeah.
And I got overexcited drinking and had too much to drink. And there was shots and stuff like that. And
touch any of this.
And
that's when I know it gets out of hand around yours, because I start willingly fucking throwing that back.
It's the big bottle of Goldschlag that's been in the bar for probably 5 years, and it just never seems to fuck off. But we had to be at the church at something like 9:30 in the morning, and I woke up, and I don't generally suffer with hangovers, but I was a write-off.
Yeah.
And Carol was like, you need to sort yourself out. You've got a christening in like half an hour. And I was like, oh God. And so normally, like, on a good day, if you're a bit hungover, sometimes a shower and a coffee can be enough, can't it?
It can. No, really.
Yeah, and I remember standing in the church, and there's photographic evidence.
You're being the godfather as well, and you're cunted.
And I remember standing there, and I was just getting like them rushes of hot and cold sweats.
Yeah.
And
when it prickles over you.
And just like my stomach weren't right. I was getting like sharp, like sort of like it was stabbing belly pains, and I was thinking,
mate,
I just need to go home. I need to go back to bed. And I was standing there, obviously trying to look like a responsible adult for Brad and Kate. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, just get through this. And I got through it, and then it was like, you coming to the reception? I was like, yep.
I can just imagine you saying yes to that.
And it was at a working men's club in Grays.
Yeah.
And I remember getting in there, and it was one of them ones where I just thought, I'm just going to have a pint.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm
did
going
you
to have a pint.
dog it?
And I just had a pint, and then they undone the buffet, and I went in.
Did it rescue you?
Yeah, completely.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
When you get rescued from it, it is like it's like a miracle. It's like being able to walk again, isn't it? I do feel like someone's touched me. Like I've been I don't have I can't walk, and someone's touched me, and I'm like, I'm alive again.
It's one of the only times I think there may be a God.
It's amazing. People don't understand what hair of the dog is. I feel sorry for you because once you discover hair of the dog, it's
back in the game.
Back in the game, mate.
Who fancies a disco?
You are out again. You can go out. Oh, you'll stink.
Yeah. That was hard. That was hard getting up. Number 4, Chris.
So mine is when I did I ever tell you that I got a first in economics? Did I mention that to you ever? When I studied at uni, studied at business economics.
I thought you had a black belt.
No, that was after. I learned how to defend my body first.
Right.
And then I learned how to defend my mind. That's what I did.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
No, thanks, mate, thanks. And
we made a note of that.
Yeah, can make it quick. So basically, I made the smart decision of going and working in a steakhouse, right? That's how I thought I'd put that first to good use. And and you got to ask yourself, did I really get a first? all these years, you got a third, Chris, didn't you? And basically, it was. I liked the people there. I hated working as a waiter. It's the worst. It's the most loathsome job I've ever done. But we used to have lock-ins, and I decided to have a lock-in the night before I had my very first ever PT session, which was at 11, but that was definitely... 11 is a normal, reasonable time.
It's a threshold.
It's a normal, reasonable time for a human being, right? But if you're out on a lock-in till like 4 a.m, just drinking, that's not a sensible plan.
What's the cut-off hour to start...
For recovery?
To stop drinking, to function?
Because also it depends on volume and how you're drinking. If you're sticking to beer or just any...
Do you know what? Let's not go there because this is going to pop up in one of mine in a minute.
All right, it is that's a nightmare though. But there are some general rules, I would say. Anyway, I wake up the next day and I'm like... the fucking ridiculous thing is it was a free PT session.
Right.
And do you know what? I felt more reason to go to that to pay because I was like, no, I'm using this person's time. And I said, I'm going to do this. So I showed up. I could feel the alcohol like on my teeth still. I'd clean my teeth, you know that, and you could
dirty feeling.
And like I was sprightly, and the girl was like, right, cool. And I was like, I did go for a drink last night. And she was like, you sure you're all right with this? I was like, yeah, fine. Got about 15 minutes in, and she could see I was really wounded. And she was like, are you sure you want to continue this? I'm like, yeah, no, I did the crime. I'm a black belt. I know how to handle these things. And midway, and it really was kidding me. It was a horrible set. It was just all of it. There was not one point where I was like, oh, no, I've got to the watershed of this.
Yeah.
It was just it was getting worse.
Yeah.
Because sometimes exercise does save you, doesn't it, right? It weren't saving me at all. My legs were burning and I just wanted to throw up. And I just said to her, I just got nipped to the toilet. And she was like, we can call it a day there. I was like, no, I just need to have a wee. Went to the toilet, ralphed my guts up. Walked back out there. She's like, you all right? I'm like, yeah. She was like, was you sick? I was like, nope. And I did it. But it was fucking brutal, man. And I don't have that sort of courage or willpower now.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? I've got more sense now.
Yeah.
Way more sense. What I wouldn't do is get super drunk and then go and do PT session. But what I am doing tomorrow is Tough Mudder, which is a 10-mile, 4-hour assault course. And I haven't done any training for 3 months. And had a pizza last night, so...
Enjoy. And you're going Progress to have a few beers today, right?
Yeah, I won't drink. I know. Why have you put that in my head? I had no thought of drinking today.
Well,
Maybe I'll have a drink.
I'm going to jump in now because while we're talking exercise, this has a big part of my next one. And it's quite weird because you saying that you've got a race because that's what mine's based around.
Oh, right.
So maybe 6 years ago, I used to do lots of 10Ks, tries, and stuff like that. And I'd signed up to do the Horndon 10K run. Yeah. Which is an annual event at the Horndon Feast and Fair, and it's a tricky course to run because it starts at the bottom of Horndon, which is called Horndon on the Hill, and you run up the hill and then back down the hill, and then it's this. But it's quite a nice run through the village and then through all the sort of countryside surrounding it. It's quite nice. On any normal time, it's a beautiful place to run.
Yeah.
We had some people over the night before. And I was running it with my friend Natalie, and I'd signed up with Nat, and we'd done a bit of training together, but I went out, and we had people over again, and I got quite drunk. I got really drunk, and I woke up and thought, why have I done this?
No.
I'm just going to phone Natalie and say I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm one of them people, a bit like what you say with the PT thing. I don't like letting people down. It bothers me. Yeah. But I think as you get older, you should be more comfortable with saying no to things. And I went, all right, Nat. And she's like, all right. I went, you still doing this? And she went, yeah, absolutely. And I went, cool, I'll see you in a bit. I'm a bit hungover. And I got there, and it was a boiling hot day. And I was like, oh dear. And I was drinking quite a lot of water, but didn't want to drink too much in case I needed to piss when I was running.
Yeah.
And I'm literally looking around, and I can't see Natalie anywhere.
All right.
So I've gone back to my car to get my phone.
Yeah.
And I phoned Nat. I said, bro, she went, oh, I just can't fucking do it. I'm hungover. I was like, oh, you mega cunt.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm here now. Yeah. I've got my number.
Yeah.
I've got to run.
I'd have been so tempted to fucking get in the car.
And it was one of them things where the heat is like, no, when you wake up the first thing in the morning at a festival when it comes through your tent.
I'll tell you what, my number 2.
Right. And it was that feeling of just like cold sweats in a boiling hot day. And I just thought, oh no. And like literally went to the start line. Oh, and I reckon for the first 10 minutes, I could feel my dehydrated brain bouncing off the top and the side of my skull.
Yeah.
Like, and I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I'm not trying to get cool points here because I've no idea how it happened. Yeah. Fastest 10K I've ever run.
Really?
Yeah. I've done ones where I've trained my bollocks off.
Yeah.
I was hanging out of my arse. Whether or not I was just thinking, I just want this to hurry up and be over.
Yeah.
I can't think of any method to it. But when I finished, I said to Carol, like, did you get my time?
Yeah.
She was like, that. I was like, holy shit. Like, I mean, by the grand scheme of things for 10Ks, it wasn't fast because I'm an old man. But it was a personal best.
That's fucking mad, man.
You know, I've no idea how it happened. I mean, literally, whenever I do 10K on a treadmill now, I still try and reach that time.
And you still can't do it?
Nah. Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it? It must have shut something off in your brain.
I think it just shut my brain off.
Yeah. And you just didn't realise that you were pushing on, going full tilt.
Yeah.
Man, that's impressive, dude.
Oh, it was just... there was no method to
horrible.
It. It was fucking horrible.
That is brutal. From one spot...
Oh, just quickly, when you finished that race in Horndon, you finished at the Bell pub and had a pint. And everything was all right.
Good work. Well, from one sport to another... my number 3 is the time I...
Karate?
Got absolutely shit-faced at a strip club.
What one?
So,
what time?
This one... What one?
Which time was this?
Yeah, every time.
Right.
So basically, I had... It was one of those... It was an out moment. You know, one of them accidental ones. After work, weirdly, at the Financial Ombudsman, there was a strip club next to Financial Ombudsman. Like, I can't remember the name of this place.
Did you bring this up as one of your weaknesses in your interview? Strengths? Well, you know, I've got a degree and a black belt. Weaknesses? That place next door. What time does that open?
Don't take me there. So anyway, and this was at a time when I knew that I had a problem. Like, when I say I had a problem with strippers. When I say I got a problem with strip club or strippers, it's not like I'm not someone who's there all the time. I definitely not. It's like strip clubs to me are like crack cocaine. I know they're dangerous, and I have to stay away from them.
They're always there, though, aren't they?
Yeah. And they're very Moorish. That's why I keep my distance from them. Well, you know, these days I don't really. And so basically, my boss and me had a drink downstairs. There's a bar downstairs, and we were having a drink downstairs, and then I don't know. He'd recently split up from his long-term partner, who had.
I know where this is going.
He'd recently split up with his long-term partner, and she had he caught her in bed with another guy at their house. I mean, that's got to be the most brutal thing to see. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so one conversation to another. Well, let's go and have a cheeky drink.
I know what's good for you.
Exactly. So
your old Uncle Chris to sort you out.
Exactly. I was helping a friend out, like a friend in need, my boss.
Yeah.
Right? We went up there and it just got out of control. And
I take it he left after about half hour.
Well, all I know is that no, he was up there for a long time. I remember looking at my watch when it was about 2:45, and we had work the next day, and we're both absolutely shit-faced.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much money I spent in there. It was a disgraceful amount of money. I would say it was 25% of my wages that month. And I remember us both going, "Oh fuck, we've got to go back."
But you was doing that for him, right?
I had to, because he was down, and I was doing it for a mate.
Nice one, mate.
So, thanks, man. And the Uber didn't exist then. So, on top of all the money I spent, I had to get a cab back to Essex, which cost a fortune. Waking up was just the worst thing in the world. And the only thing pulling me through
was the stripper in bed that you'd fallen in love with.
Was that I'd got engaged. So I'll tell you what, there's a story very similar to that that's actually true. So that's a Craig story though. And
that's a smashing tattoo though.
So I got up, I was out my face. You know what you say, the shower and coffee didn't touch the sides on how I felt. Got on the train, got in. All my team were just like, and there was another team manager off, and I was responsible for 2 teams. And all my team, I was just like, keep your distance till about 2 or 3 o'clock, because I'm fucking out of it. Of course, no one's going to do that, because when people have got questions for you, they're not going to go, "Oh, watch out, Chris had a bit of a heavy one with some strippers last night." And so I was trying to manage these 2 people, and then fucking Pete waltzes in, who's head of the operation, I think 11 o'clock, right? And I'm like, "Where have you been?" And he's like, "Oh, I just couldn't be bothered." I thought, for fuck's sake. When he went 12, he came in for a fucking hour and then just fucked off.
So you have to see it through?
I sat through it all, yeah. I couldn't do what he did. I didn't have, like, the sort of position.
Oh, you're a maverick, mate.
So I had to suffer it all. Just like you said with Nat.
Yeah.
I thought the thing that's getting me through here is that if I don't show up, I'm gutless and I'm a wimp and I can't hack it. And I thought, I'm getting into the office.
Yep.
And then Pete rolls in for an hour. Bastard. That's my number 3, mate. What's your number 2?
Dublin. When we went to Dublin.
I forgot about that. Oh, my God.
So when we went and done the Dublin Podcast Festival, we done a hardcore listing show at... Was it start at 1 a.m?
No, it started at midnight.
Midnight.
Yeah.
And we must have finished at about 3.
Yeah, about that. Give or take.
Then we ended up hanging around with loads of listeners and had a party back at the hotel.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
But obviously, Pip's next door, fast asleep. Yeah. But we had to be at the airport at 5:30. It's something like that.
It was early.
And I think we, like, by the time we got to bed, I think we had about 40 minutes sleep, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we got up, and it was one of them ones that I just thought, fuck me, I am hanging out of my arse. I feel like shit. We had lizards that night in London.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously I had to fly back and be, dad and do the responsible thing there. But
I know you're going to say it.
The only thing that got me through was...
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Was the fact that in the bed next to me was you. You weren't in a good place, was you?
No, I've forgotten about this. I must have put it in some.
Well, I thought I put it in because it was one that we both had to endure together, and I think had I been standalone, I would have been in bother. But because I could see that you was in a worse place than me, I got through it by being horrible to you.
Yeah, no, and because my phone had died.
Yeah.
And so you started posting shit up on Instagram of me broken, like talk about kicking a man with their head down. There was one of me literally collapsed on the floor of this airport, trying to do something in my bag, and you just took a picture of me, and it's like I was
doing things like every time you was like trying to pick your bag up, I'd just kick your bag just a little bit too far to do, like, just being a cunt, just being an annoying prick.
Oh.
But it was the fact that just the simplest of things was too much for you at that point.
It was.
And it would have been for me, but it was just the fact you was that much worse that I just thought, right, this is how I'll get through this. I've just got to make Chris suffer some more.
There was no getting through it for me.
And you was getting all upset because we was putting pictures of you, like, in a bad place on Instagram, and you couldn't take them off because your phone had died.
Do you know
it was just a win-win.
Oh, mate. Do you know what? That I tried to... when you're like, right, how am I going to handle this? I'm going to eat something. I'm going to put something in my body, and it's kill or cure, and it killed me.
We Burger King'd it, didn't we?
Yeah, and that killed me, mate.
Yeah.
That didn't pull me out of any hole. That just that put me in a hole full of ground beef and salt and fat, and I was just like, oh, no, that didn't help at all. That fucked me right up, that Burger King.
That's right. Right.
That's a good shout, mate, that one.
That was... it was just one that I thought, we had to endure that one together.
That's a great shout, dude. Yeah, really good.
Next one.
My number 2 is a bit like when you said about it being into the scorching heat. So this isn't about alcohol, this is about drugs. Naughty drugs. So basically, Glastonbury 2013, first Glastonbury. It might have been sooner than that, earlier than that. Anyway, we got there well early. I think we were there on a Wednesday night. Wednesday night caned it. Thursday night caned it. I was like a hero. I was like, I couldn't believe that I was drinking a lot and surviving. And these are like 7 a.m. finishes both nights. And I'm like, great. And I'm still being active and that. And then on a Friday, one of my girl mates from uni, and obviously we know my uni days are hedonistic, human traffic, drug fueled, went, oh, Chris, why don't you swing by our tent? This was Friday I think it was about 5 p.m. Right, before anything was really kicking off. It might have been earlier than that. And we never left the tent. And basically, she had a few mates in there and a local drug dealer. And I remember it all clearly. As high as I was, I can remember the whole event, the whole night, where I shit you not, I only left the tent to take a piss, which was very rarely. And at one point in the night, I just, kneeling in this tent, tombstoned, face down, into a pile of drugs. Because I was just so high. I don't know what happened, and I can remember doing it, but my body just decided to just give in on me. And I woke up the next morning, and the weather had turned, because it had been quite bad, and it was blisteringly hot, and I was holding on to her, snuggled up next to a girl I didn't know. It was purely for warmth, right, up until that point, in a tent that was half sinking into mud. And that was about 7 a.m. And I probably had a couple of hours sleep there. And I was like, what's happened here? And I felt dreadful because I'd just been taking drugs for about 12 hours with people who were doing it quite regularly. And I forget that I'm not bloody, Iggy Pop. I can't handle drugs. And I'd had a great night, but it was I woke up and I was like, oh no, I feel like a creature. The day was my enemy. And I was like, well, I've got to get back to my tent. And so I got back to my tent, finally managed to find it, and I was like, I'm not wasting this day. I'm not having this be. I'm not checking out.
Positive mental attitude, Chris. Well done.
I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not losing my Saturday.
Absolutely.
Because of how I've treated my own body.
Good on you.
So,
How was your Saturday?
It was the worst day of my life. It was so bad, Stu. Like, it was so fucking bad. Like, I packed a few beers, road beers, because I knew, a good way to cure come down his hair with a dog. But it was hot, it was warm beer. That beer was going down like fucking treacle. And I think I got through to about 1 p.m. and I was like, I have to go to bed in the tent. I'll go and get a few hours because I'll die out here.
Yeah.
And I did. I just had to throw in the towel. I was in a fucking mess. I wasn't enjoying anything. Obviously, you've got to do a bit of walking in Glastonbury anyway. Yeah. But I wasn't hearing any. I was standing in front of bands and I couldn't hear bands. All I was hearing was, you're dying. Your body feels like shit. So I just had to throw in the towel, mate. Because the reason why it's got up there so highly is...
Was that Alien Ant Farm, by the way?
Oh, yeah, it was. I couldn't, like, sometimes when it's work, it's like, it's an expectation you have to do it. I wanted to be there. There's loads of bands I was trying to watch, and I just couldn't even pay attention because I felt so ill. So, I had to just check out. But that was really drug-fueled, and it was horrible. And the fact that I woke up holding on to someone, I didn't know this girl at all. I don't remember talking to her the whole night. I woke up cuddling her because I was so cold in a tent that a foot away from me was mud. And then I was like, this is the worst start to Saturday at Glastonbury I could have basically had. And yeah, I couldn't do anything. I went and lied down for a few hours till the point where I could just about face walking outside. And that was it. I knew that it was never going to get better than that. And I just had to go out there. Horrible, horrible day. Horrible day. There you go. It's my number 2, mate.
My number 2?
Yeah.
Top 5 Irish whiskies.
Yeah, and you see, I didn't want to say anything because the only reason why this hasn't made mine is...
Well, you fucking didn't get up, you cunt. You got out of bed when I rang you at 1 in the afternoon to tell me that you could hear your heartbeat in your head, then went back to bed.
My hangover, I've had hangovers, I've probably had 5 hangovers my whole life where I think that I'm probably about 1 glass of water away from having a stroke. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I don't get water in my system now, I could probably give myself brain damage. That's how bad it felt.
Yeah.
I'd rather someone hit me round the head than have a hangover like that. Definitely, mate, definitely.
So, if you haven't heard this story, we must have touched on it on one of the podcasts since then, but when oh God, I forgot his name. Rob, yeah. When Rob come over to record the top 5 Irish whiskies, I mean, we've put up videos of that night and photos of that night post podcast. Yeah. Obviously, we worked out that we probably drank about a pint of whiskey each in
90 minutes.
In 90 minutes, and then rather than going, it's only 7 p.m. Let's just go have an early night now and not worry about that. Let's go to the pub and drink pints of Guinness. Which we done, and then we was treated to Chris rapping.
In a kebab shop. There's video footage. Have we released any of that yet?
No.
Oh, mate, that's some good shit. The second part to that, when I'm trying to walk along the bar of the kebab shop. Even me, normally I'm disgusted at myself, but even I'm impressed at how drunk I am.
It's the fact that while you're rapping to the kebab guy, you're going to him, why are you hiding?
Oh, mate, that must have been terrifying.
So we drank so much whiskey and then drunk 2-3 pints of Guinness. Yeah. And I think I got in at like 10. It wasn't late, but I remember walking down my road and I was zigzagging, and I've not done that for a long time. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm really fucked. And I'd just started doing 2 days a week, some consultancy stuff for one of my pals, which involves me working out of his office in London. And it was the second week of that.
Second week. So you've got to be on top form, right?
He's a really good mate. And if I phoned him up and went, I'm in a bad place,
yeah.
he would have been, that's fine. But as I've said before,
you can't do that.
You got a conscience, so it's like, I've got to do the right thing. Yeah. So the alarm went off at 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
And yeah, I was on the train. Sorry, Jason Reed there from Stop and Search just sent me a little message there. Because he done the podcast with the man I'm talking about right now. It's quite strange.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I had to be on the train at, I think it was 5:40, and I'd obviously done the shower, and it was one of them ones where I was in denial. I was just like, come on, let's have a shower, and if I don't think about it and just get on with things really quickly...
Power through it.
It doesn't exist. But then I sat on the train.
I can't imagine what you were going through. I really can't. Because, as I say, when I woke up when I did, which was like fucking nearly midday, I was in hell.
Yeah.
It was hell on earth what was happening in my bedroom. And to think that you even managed to get on the train is beyond belief. How you must have felt.
I had anxiety. I couldn't remember who I was speaking to in the pub, and as I get older, this gets worse, like my anxiety, and I was just thinking, who did I upset? I hope I didn't upset anyone.
Because we were having, I know, I can't remember the exact conversations. I know I was half taking the piss out of one of the local nut jobs in there.
Yeah.
So that could have gone well wrong.
But yeah, and I remember thinking, like, oh God, like, I hope I didn't fuck anyone off. Because when I start thinking about it, it wasn't like we was all on the same level and it was 11:30. It was 7 p.m. They'd just got there and we were steaming, having the best disco ever. And so, I was thinking about that. And then when I sat on that train, and that time of the morning, it's just a carriages full of builders, and it was... And someone was sitting opposite me with their little earbuds in their ears, holding their phone in front of their face, having a really loud conversation.
Oh.
And I think normally I probably would have been like, mate, it's a quiet zone. I think I was just... Every part of me just wanted to slap the phone out of his hand.
Yeah.
But then I just think if I would have done that and he would have said, what's your problem? I just would have cried.
Yeah, you didn't feel like... Yeah.
I had nothing.
A shadow of yourself.
I had nothing to offer. I remember getting to London and I had a coffee on the train, which made me feel worse. And I was walking through London. It was just bad. It was just really bad. And then I had to do a 7 till 6 p.m. day. And I just got home and Cal was like, you all right? And I was like, I'm just not. I just need to go to bed. I
remember by about 6, I was like, I know I can see the light at the end of this tunnel. About 6 at night, I was like, things are starting to go my way now. And probably by about 9, I was back to being a person again. Yeah. But the whole day, mate, I couldn't. And I had stuff to do, but I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to have to, I'm going to have to man up, order a KFC and watch some junk on TV because I couldn't keep my shit together, man. So
that's what I needed. I needed a day eating shit, just laying on the sofa. But it weren't too. But I mean, that said, I had a fucking great night.
It was a great night, Rob. Thank you. Yeah,
did have a lot of fun that night. Number 1, Christopher Glasson.
So number 1, we're always talking about when you go to bed and then you got something to do next day, and you go. But there are occasions in my life, and I'm just going to do one where the party didn't ever end by me going to bed.
Right.
And the most significant time I could ever remember is the time where I came to my senses about 9 a.m. in a field somewhere over in Langdon Hills.
Is that a Pulp lyric?
I don't know.
That Salted Freeze and Wings?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. It's funny you say that because I think when you talked about that song in one of our previous podcasts, I've even totally forgotten this conversation, said, yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah.
And I'd done my first trip with Scroobius Pip and Tom Coles, and that trip, with Acid, they say, you buy the ticket, you take the ride, right? Because you don't really get to dictate when that ends. Like with drinking, you can sort of like stop and it's going to burn off quite quickly. LSD, it's not the same well, it often can be, but you don't know. Like you just don't know the dosage on a tab. That's why it's dangerous. It should be a Class A drug, Well, I don't know. It's more dangerous whether or not you want to, I'd say, still make it legal. But anyway, you have to be somewhat responsible. And I remember we were high for 16 hours. Like there's this whole story about that night, which is fantastic, of what we got up to, and it was really. But it ended 9 a.m. Sunday morning in a field in Langdon Hills when I finally was like, fucking hell. Like, Jesus Christ, covered in mud, had a great night, no bad things to say, it was just an awesome experience. But at 9 a.m. is when I came round to my senses. I went, I've got work at 11 at a clothes shop. And it was a clothes shop in Basildon called Mission, which, a lot of Basites will know, it was quite a cool shop. It was a fun shop.
It was.
A fun shop to work in. And I phoned my boss up, Tony, and I went, Tone, listen, I did something that I didn't think would have the repercussions that it's got today. But I'm in a field in Langdon, and I took LSD last night, and I've just come back to normal, but I just don't think I've come to my senses, but I don't think it's completely worn off. And Tony was like, yeah, cool, well, I'll still see you at 11 then, Chris. And I was like, you what? But I'm being honest, He's not going to be that busy.
Wrong approach. Do what Pip does, stay stuck in his loft.
Fuck it, exactly. Tony was like, no, I'll see you at 11, mate. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So got back to mine, got myself ready, went to this clothes shop, and Tony was a cunt to me. Like, it was brilliant because I would have done exactly the same thing to anyone who's gone through that, which basically was he was wigging me out all day long because I hadn't come back to my senses. So he was doing things like, he'd say, oh, mate, can you go and grab us some coffees or something like that? I can't remember what it was. It was a McDonald's. It was lunchtime. So go and grab us a Happy Meal or whatever. And I went, yeah, cool. So I went out. Then I didn't notice, but he locked up the shop and then followed me to McDonald's and kept on calling out my name and hiding.
That's fucking genius.
Like, the carpet in Mission was just melting all day long. He was doing things like, we'd have a bunch of customers all around the desk where we're folding the clothes and he's serving people. And he'd go out his way. He would make himself look weird to absolutely freak me out. So he'd be talking to people, and then he would just start talking gobbledygook to people. And then I would just sort of like open eyes, like with my mouth open, be like, I don't know what's going on here. And Tony would be going, 16 cabbages, 12 sausages, da-da-da-da, to other customers. And I'm going, what I'm tripping. And it wasn't. He was just doing that. Yeah. And it was a very weird experience. I must say, it wasn't the worst. But it's just a very funny thing to sort of like know that the night hadn't ended. I hadn't had any sleep.
Yeah.
And Tony put me through the fucking the ringer for that, mate. So yeah, it was quite a hard one, that. LSD kids.
Just say no.
Just say no. That's it, mate. I think, isn't it? We've done it all now.
I've
done your
got
number
one? No.
Oh, did I go first?
Yeah.
Oh shit. What's your number one, buddy? Oh, cool. Share number.
So
two
I'm going to go back to 1996.
Sure.
And it was kind of at the peak of my serious band.
Yep.
And we'd signed this deal, and we was really tight with the management. The management, one of the management team owns a club that I'm still at, and they were big skiers. And so they'd come back. I might have mentioned a little bit of this story on a previous podcast, but they come back, and they were my introduction to vodka Red Bull. Because they'd been in this ski resort where they were drinking Flugels, they were called, which was vodka Red Bull and blackcurrant.
Yeah.
And you'd neck it, and then you'd throw the ice from the glass over your shoulder, which, when you're being rad in a ski resort, sounds like a lot of fun. Half Moon in Rayleigh, not so much. But we'd drunk a lot of that and not realised just how fucking messed up Red Bull can make you.
Red Bull is like, yeah.
But the other manager had said, don't get the boys pissed, because we had something very special the next day.
Yeah.
No worries. So we started drinking at 1 in the afternoon. Then when the pub shut at 11 back then, me, the singer, and the owner of the club said, let's open up the club and have a drink. So we've then opened up the club, and we're standing there at the bar just drinking whatever we wanted to drink.
Oh,
it was one of them ones where we was far too drunk, and the manager then started to dig the singer about not putting enough work in.
Right.
And he was lazy, to singer.
Yeah.
Like, in regards to pushing the band. But he was like, well, it's not my job. I'm not the manager, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, fucking leave him alone. And then he started digging him some more, and then the singer got a bit upset. And I was like, none of us would ever have been that upset.
Yeah.
But we'd been drinking for probably about 14 hours, right?
Yeah.
So I've just said, look what you've fucking done. I hope you're fucking happy with yourself. And he went, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, no.
And I was like, let's fucking go.
Oh, no.
To which he's pulled a bat out and smashed it down.
Fucking hell.
On the top of the bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's fucking go. Fucking have it. And I've just got myself so angry
that
I've burst into tears while I'm screaming.
Rage tears, right? Yeah.
And then he's just gone, well, I don't want to do this. And he started bursting into tears as well, right? So there's 3 grown men in some kind of like Reservoir Dogs standoff looking at each other, all just bawling their eyes out for no fucking reason whatsoever. And then it was like,
oh my God.
Should we go to bed? And it was like, yeah. So we was staying at his flat above the club. And so we've gone upstairs and like literally this is like fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. And then the landline, so I don't think we had mobiles then. The landline has gone at 6. The other manager.
Oh, what?
See you in an hour.
Oh.
And it had completely gone out of my mind that we was having our first ever television appearance on a kids' breakfast show called Wakey Wakey. So the manager of the club has gone, I won't do his Welsh accent very well, fucking hell, quick, get up! And so we've like got up, he's thrown us in this car, and I was like, where are we going? And he took us to this swimming pool at like 6:30 in the morning, and he's just gone, 3 swims. And I was like, what's going on? And he'd literally just packed 3 pairs of his like old Speedos and things like that. And I just did not know what was going on. I was still out of my mind. And the woman's gone, the pool's not open yet. It's just for like the people that are proper swimmers that do the before you open swims. And he went, please, can we just have 3 showers? So she sort of looked at us and just gone, okay. And then I remember just standing there, and the owner of the club has just literally shook his hangover in a split second. And he was just like, come on! And he was soaping his balls up in the shower. And I was just thinking, oh man, I do not need to be looking at his bollocks in the state I'm in now. We then got picked up by the remaining members of the band and the other manager in the van, and then went to Elstree and just got into this TV studio for like whatever it was, 10 in the morning. And they were like, and it was all like kind of like, watch your kids, right? And it was like, next up we've got Lilo performing their new single, Boy of Yesterday. Hey guys, how you all doing? And like, I've only seen this once when it went out, and I look like a broken person. and I was one of the sort of, me and the singer were the spokespeople for the band, and I was generally, unsurprisingly, had too much to say for myself. I didn't say a word. I just sat there thinking, please don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
And it was fucking hell on earth. Like, and the fact the show was called Wakey Wakey, and it was a kids' morning TV show, and it was just off the back of the fucking craziest fucking night. And you do not need to wake up seeing a man who's probably 15 years older than you lavering up his balls in a public shower.
No. There's too much temptation there.
But yeah, like that was a fucking that was a hard one to get up. But before we finish, as you was talking about like your mate at Tony being a cunt, right? I've remembered one that wasn't about me, but was about my mate Danny. And his dad being the best cunt ever. Now, my mate Danny was my mate that probably messed with substances quite extremely. He was the guy that we lost, and then we found he'd climbed up in my mate's loft and found his chemistry set from when he was a kid.
Oh, that guy.
And smoked it. Yeah. No one needs to be smoking zinc.
Hell, mate, that is crazy.
But Dan was great fun to go out with, and he used to come to the club with me, but the thing is, Dan's dad was just a proper cunt to him, like, but with a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
Dan weren't the best with the ladies, but he'd pulled himself a girl that we both knew, like one of our mates, and they'd kind of never really wanted to get together. He didn't really want to get with her, but it was just a drunken thing. And she's gone back to his house, his parents' house, which was rare for Dan. So he's in his room with her, and so the story goes that he woke himself and her up from farting. And instantly smelt his own fart and just thought, I'm so hungover. Oh my God. Oh shit, I'm in bed with her.
Yeah.
Like, I need this to all go away really quickly. I need her out of my house. But he lived in Grays. She lived the other side of Billericay. So he was like, I've got to make this go away. Dan didn't drive.
Yeah. He was punching as well. Billericay bird.
And he was like, I've got to get her out. Like, and he was like, Dad, like, can you please drop this girl home? And he went, yeah, no worries, Dan. And that's unlike his dad. And he went, like, I need to make this go away. Like, this is a situation I did not bank on, and I'm really in a bad place right now. I'm really hungover, and she probably likes me, and I don't need this. Yeah. And he was like, no worries, mate. And, like, so Dan said, like, my dad would drop you home. Like, and he presumed his dad would just drop her home. So she's like, oh, yeah, cool, thanks. Like, you know, when we're going to catch up? Yeah. And he went, yeah, I'll give you a call, blah, blah, blah. And then his dad's going, like, Dan, you ready? And he was like, oh, no, he wants me to come as well. And he was like, oh. And he said, like, literally, he was like, come, we're going right now. So he said, I've just literally thrown my clothes on and run out the door. Hadn't had a shit. And I really needed a shit. And he said, and so I'm in the car. My dad put a load of stuff on the front seat, so I had to sit in the back next to her. And he said, I was just thinking, oh no, like my stomach's really churning of anxiety and I really need a poo.
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst.
But he's thinking, right, I've got half hour to get to Billericay, I can get through this. And he said, we was going down to 127 and for some reason my dad cut through Wickford. And he was like, why is he going through Wickford? And he thought, no worries. And he said, I was just there, fucking heart beating in my head and all that malarkey. And he just said, like, all of a sudden I've heard my dad go, and he said, boiling hot day. My dad went, ooh, well, this looks good. And pulled into a boot sale. He purposely took him to a boot sale for 2 hours and just made him walk round, hanging out of his arse on a boiling hot day, needing a shit, with this girl that he didn't want to be anywhere near. He just said it was the most cuntish thing his dad had ever done. And he was like, he said, I had no money, I couldn't buy myself a cup of coffee or anything. And he was just like, yeah, I won't be long, Dan. And he said, yeah. He said, spent 2 hours just walking around a boot sale. I thought that was fucking magnificent. That's
what dad's for. Toughens you up, mate. It's character building, isn't it?
Yeah.
Character building.
Absolutely. Good nice, top five.
Very fun, very fun. Well, I'm off to watch the wrestling, and from the looks of it, you're going skateboarding.